Hi, welcome back to Insurance 101. Today I actually want to go over some homeowners insurance myths just to clear a couple of things up. Again, I just want to start off by saying that I am a licensed insurance broker in the state of New York. So these are regarding New York's rules and regulations. And before you actually go and sit down and want to make changes or anything to your policy, I always do suggest that you sit down and speak with a licensed agent or also your broker. So the first myth that I actually want to go ahead and clarify is that you need to insure your home for market value. So the answer to that is no. You actually insure the house for the replacement cost, because how they come up with the market value includes the land. We do not insure the land for the simple fact that if there is a loss on the location, the land is not going to burn. You will rebuild your house upon the land, except for if it's a swamp or anything of that nature. Then at that point, the insurance company would pay to actually uproot your home and move it to a different location where it would be safe. So in regards to insuring the house for market value, that is not correct. You would insure it for replacement cost. How do we come up with replacement cost? What you're going to do is take your square footage, times it by what it's going to cost to rebuild in that area. So let's say that you have a contractor that's not going to get out of bed for less than $300 a square foot. You'll basically take whatever the square footage or the total living area is of the home and times that by the 250 or 300, how much ever it is to actually go ahead and rebuild in that home. To rebuild that home like, kind, and quality. Another myth is that all your belongings are actually going to be covered underneath your homeowner's policy. Well, that is somewhat of a myth too, because you have to make sure that you read your policy limits. Even when it comes to your jewelry, fine arts, furs, and things of that nature, they're only insured for a certain limit. So you want to make sure that the limits that you're actually carrying on your policy are going to cover those things, because it only covers basically up to $1,000, which most people's deductibles are $1,000, which would negate any type of jewelry coverage, fine arts, furs, silver, so on and so forth. So what you want to look into is obtaining something called a personal articles floater or a PAF policy. Okay, now in reference to the next myth that I want to say is everyone says that insurance will actually replace my belongings for brand new. The thing is, if you only have a policy that gives you ACV, which is actual cash value, then that is a myth. But as long as you actually have replacement cost on your contents, which would be you take your home, shake it upside down, anything that you're going to walk away with is considered to be your contents coverage. So as long as you have replacement cost, then they would actually pay for it to be replaced like, kind, and quality. Another myth is that your homeowner's insurance actually covers flood. And in reference to that, that's definitely a myth, because flood is covered underneath a whole separate policy altogether. Now, I'm not talking about, oh my goodness, the pipe in my basement bursted and now here it is, there's water rushing in my basement. That is not considered to be a flood. In insurance land, which is what I call it, a flood is the only constitutes as two things. It's going to be the runoff of a body of water, or basically the runoff of surface waters. And then not only would it be you that would be affected, it'd be you, your neighbor, the neighbor down the street, so on and so forth. And then actually when you place a flood claim, the only way to place a flood claim is if it's basically affected by two or more homes. So you might want to be careful about that. But now in reference to the pipe bursting in your basement and basically getting water all over, every single thing, as long as you basically have your replacement cost on contents and things of that nature, that would actually be covered. Everything would be covered except for what? The pipe. So just keep that in mind. Now, Another myth is that if you have an in-home business, that somehow your in-home business would be covered. I want to tell you, anybody running a daycare center or anything of that nature on your premises, what I want you to do is basically send me an inbox, an email, something, because we need to get you different coverage. Because what will end up happening is if someone calls, if one of those children falls, breaks a hip or whatever it is, they stub a toe or whatever it is, liability would be covered for if you had guests coming over and you were found at fault. But this is now an in-home business, and this is why they actually send you these thick policy packets, because there's a list of exclusions which are in there, which would actually exclude your home-based business. Now, some companies will give you coverage for certain home-based businesses, but you need to figure out or call that insurance company and ask them what that is. Usually I'm going to tell you a daycare is not one of them. Then there's another myth that each and every single year my homeowner's insurance premium is going to stay exactly the same. I haven't done any work on my home. The square footage hasn't changed. I haven't increased anything. Therefore, ergo, my premium should still be the same. Wrong. Let me explain to you why. There is something called, and which is built into your insurance policy, as long as you have replacement cost for the dwelling on that policy, called an inflation guard. What that inflation guard does, it's going to increase the dwelling value, which actually increases your personal property coverage, also your other structures and the loss of use coverage. It will increase those things to basically keep up with the inflationary value, for the simple fact that your home does not normally deteriorate in value. It only appreciates in value. So in the event that there is a loss, you would want me to basically rebuild that home like, kind, and quality. So the only way that we can basically make sure that that replacement cost coverage is up to date is that we have that inflation guard on the policy. So I do want to let you know, I'm here for you. If you have any type of questions, if you actually need insurance, I definitely do. Like I said, I hold a broker's license for the state of New York. I'm actually licensed in several states, Connecticut being one of them. I want to say Virginia. I have licenses that I hold in several states. So if you have any questions, or you need insurance, or you just need quotes and want me to look at that policy, be sure to go ahead and leave a comment below. I'll make sure that you can, I'll get back to you and contact you. And like I said, again, just make sure when doing any type of insurance transactions, you want to sit down and talk to a reputable agent and also a reputable broker, because some people actually, even though they've gone to school, like I've gone to school for this stuff for years, they still have no idea. Just like, for example, I'll just throw out something that most people don't know. So when you have an auto accident, I know this is talking about homes, but when you have an auto accident, most people automatically think that their insurance is going to go up. But the only way to be surcharged for an accident is two things have to happen. You have to be found 66.7% at fault, and the insurance company has to pay out over the threshold amount. The threshold amount is $2,000. Now, some people have had it where I've actually looked at people's insurance policies, and I've noticed that they've been being surcharged for accidents, and they had no business being. And I'll give you one example of one. I had an insured who basically said this person came into my lane. The other party said no, he came into my lane. So what happens there? It's considered to be conflicting accident descriptions. So when you have conflicting accident descriptions, in reference to that, your insurance company has no choice but to take your side of the agreement, because they work for you, and then the other party's insurance company has no choice but to take their side of their story, due to the fact that they, are insuring them and they work for them. So you just need to make sure that you have a smart enough insurance broker that when they actually sit down and review that policy, when it comes up for renewal next year or in the next 6 months, that they're bright enough to actually go ahead and ask you what happened in that accident. And if they figure out that those two things didn't occur and only one, then you can have that surcharge removed, like I've done for many, many, many of my clients. So I want to say thank you so much again for watching Insurance 101, and I would please love it for you to subscribe to this station. And then of course, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the content of this station, and I want you to go ahead and hit that notification bell so each time I upload a video you will be notified. So if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about or discuss when it comes to insurance, please go ahead and let me know. Just leave that in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to go ahead and do a tutorial on that. Thank you so much, and everyone have a wonderful and blessed day.